Thayer's Greek English lexicon, and what Thayer's actually does is take the root of the words, and Thayer makes mistakes too, as we have seen before. But you take the root of words, and that's all it has. This is not an analytical lexicon. Now, an analytical lexicon, I'm going to show this up here so they can see Thayer's up here. Because these go all over the place. That's just a basic dictionary is what it is. A dictionary of the Greek words that go back into English. Now, an analytical Greek lexicon, now this is actually smaller than that one. The analytical Greek lexicon tears down every word in the New Testament. It gives you the roots of it, but it tells every way that it is used. And all of the 8 cases, all the verbs, and tells you what tense and mode and voice it is, all the participles and everything. And this is what it looks like. Of course, some of you have seen this. That's what it looks like. It tears every word down in particular, analytically. And tells you whether it's a present indicative active or first aorist indicative active or middle voice or what it is, and whether the noun is the nominative, genitive, auditive, locative, instrumental, dative, or accusative, or vocative. Now, here is a nice little tool. These are tools that you use in Greek. We had some new people in here, so I thought I'd do this. This is the concordance to the Greek New Testament. Every word in the Greek New Testament is in this. Every word. There isn't any English in it. So you have to read Greek. That's the only bad thing. But every word is in the New Testament, is here, and where it is found in every book in the New Testament, and how many times it's found, and all of that. So it's here. This here is a concordance of the Greek New Testament by Moulton and Giddon. Now there are many, many more. Liddell and Scott, Bauer, Arndt, and Gingrich, all kinds of lexicons. This is the best analytical lexicon that we have, and you can find the roots. Now, as I've been teaching the book of Genesis, I have been going and cross-references from the Hebrew to the Greek Septuagint, which is a Greek translation of the Old Testament, and see what kind of ideas they have. Sometimes they were right, sometimes they were wrong. The bad thing about the book of Genesis, it is not translated, it is interpreted so much. And when we're doing the book of Genesis, we're translating it. We're talking about the interpretation, but we're actually doing the translation of it. All right, now 424, let's go there. Can anybody read that first word? Ketina. Estin. Allegorumena. We got our word allegory from that word. And then hate, dar, essence, dio, diatheke, mia, man, apo, urus. Right? By the way, the word oros there, oros, and the Hebrew word for mountain is hor. Okay? So they're very close together.
That's oros or uros?
Oros. Yeah. And Sina, or Sina, would mean Sinai, okay? Ace, Duleon, Yamnosa, Hatis, Estin, Hagar. All right. Now let's look at this. All right. Which names, nominative, plural, neuter, comes from hastis. All right. Hostis is a relative pronoun. Which names are having been allegorized. Now, what is an allegory? The ancient writers, they used a lot. They spoke in riddles. You remember, Brother Floyd, when you were young, people all the time had riddles?
Oh, yeah.
People had riddles a lot. Indians spoke in riddles a lot. A lot of times people would speak in a riddle and say, now figure it out. And you go back to the Bible days. Now, who was the guy that figured out riddles in the Old Testament and played with riddles a lot? In the Old Testament, he was a judge of Israel. Who was it? Remember him? Samson. Remember Samson and his riddles? All right. They taught a lot of riddles. They taught a lot in what we call parables. What they did was they threw something out that really wasn't exactly like it, but if you could figure this out, then you could figure out this out. It was an example, an allegory, okay? Which things are being allegorized, okay? That's nominative, plural, neuter, present, participle, and passive. Being allegorized. These, all right, 4 are 2 covenants. Diatheke. What's the word in Hebrew for covenant? Come on, Girdle. Hebrew. Look at the Hebrew now. Well, I'm giving you a little bit of this.
Well, can I cheat? Because it's written right there.
Yeah. All right.
Marie?
Yeah. All right, that is. There it is.
That's reading.
Bereaved. All right. Bereaved, which means a cutting. In the Old Testament, when they were going to make a covenant, they said, let's make a cutting. All right. In the New Testament is a cutting. And every time in the Old Testament when they made a covenant, when they did a cutting, what happened to the things that got cut? They bled. You ever get cut without bleeding? The older you get, Brother Floyd, the more you bleed, don't you?
I bleed some down without getting cut.
That's right. All you have to do is get near something and you start bleeding.
But isn't the cutting part of the contract?
The cutting was part of the contract. But what it did is they took animals, they killed them and bled them, and they cut half here and half there, and they sat down there, and then they ate it. They ate the contract. They ate the cutting, and when they ate together, remember when old Laban and Jacob, when they said, let's have a cutting, let's do a cutting. So they sat down, they killed the animals, 4 animals got to die, and then they sat down and ate it. Jesus, before he went to the cross of Calvary, he told them he was going to go to the cross of Calvary. And he said the night before that he was going to be crucified, he got his church together up in that upper room, and he told them an allegorical story. What was it? The Lord's Supper. Take, eat. This is my body, which is about to get broken for you. Take, drink. This is my blood of the new covenant, of the new cutting. Jesus would have to die and bleed for this contract. They divided his clothes among them. All right? 1. Covenant 1 indeed from the Mount Sinai. One's from Mount Sinai in reference to slavery. Unto slavery. You know, when they signed the contract at Mount Sinai, they signed themselves into slavery. They signed themselves into slavery, didn't they? We will keep the law. We will keep the law. 1 indeed from Mount Sinai unto slavery. Begetting. Generating. Our word generate comes from that word generator comes from this one. What does generator do? What does it generate? Something. Electricity usually, doesn't it? You can generate a child if you have a counterpart. You can generate a child. The book of Genesis is a book of beginnings, of generations, how God generated, created the heavens and the earth. Present participle active, nominative singular masculine, which is Hagar. All right? There are 2 covenants. The mountain is slavery, which represents now Hagar. Okay? Hagar. There was a rabbi named Akabah. They found mystical sense in every crook and cranny of the Hebrew language. Every little turn, every little thing, he had a secret meaning to it. All right? This thing cross-references over to 1 Corinthians 10:11, Deuteronomy 30:3 and verse 2, Galatians 4:3, Matthew 1:1 through 16, Luke 1:13 through 57, and Luke 1:5, or Luke 15, and actually even Luke, the 3rd chapter, where it talks about the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Now let's go over to number 425. How do you say this? Anybody know that one? I bet you, Brother Floyd, you could read that first word there on, Brother Floyd, on that read. 425. Can you read that word?
No.
What do you think it looks like in English?
Looks like two.
That's right. You got it. That's it. You didn't know you could read Greek, did you? What's the next one look like?
See.
Well, it's actually day. That's a D. Today, Hagar, Sinai, Oros, Eston, and Te, Arabia, Sin, Stoike, Day, Te, Nin, Jerusalem, Dule, Gar, Meta, Tone, Technon, Altace. All right. See, David, you need to touch up on this because you need to
I told you that, didn't I?
You just need to read this fluently. Mount Sinai and Jerusalem are compared. Okay. Now it starts out with a weakened conjunctive particle, page 85, if you want to write that one down in your book. The Hagar, Sinai mountain. In other words, Hagar is Sinai. Now wait a minute here for a minute. Now a long time ago, Hagar was not the promised woman, was she? She wasn't the woman. Now anybody, why? God had promised that Abraham was going to be a father of a multitude. His name meant exalted father, Abraham. And then Abraham, they put a hey. That's what it looks like in Hebrew. Hey is the fifth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and 5 is the number of what? 5 is the number of what in the Bible? Grace. By grace, he became the exalted father of a multitude. Abraham. All right. Abraham. All right. He added that in his, that word was added. Abraham and Abraham. Okay. Different. He was going to be exalted father of a multitude. By grace he would be. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Old men can have children. Did you know that? There's a lot of old people that have children. My great-great-great-grandfather, he married my great-great-great-grandmother, and when she was 50 years old, he had 3 kids with her after she was 50. She had 3 children after she was 50. Then she died in 1871. He married another young girl, and he was way up in age now. And she had some children. Well, that was no problem. When Elatika had those children, now I'm going to tell you something, a woman over 50 years old having kids is pretty miraculous. She had 3. Okay? I'm living proof of it because I'm here. You know? She had them. But when Smith Paul, when he married this Sarah Ann, when he married her, she was a young 20-something-year-old girl. He was about 70 or 70-something. And it was no problem. He had kids because he had a young, virile woman that could conceive. Okay. Now, it was no problem for Abraham to go into Hagar because she was a young, virile woman. She could have kids. Sarah was old. Her womb was shut up, so to speak. When a woman gets over 50 years old, boy, I mean, tell you what, if she has a kid after that, it's a miracle. If she was 90, Hagar was a young woman. That child was a natural child. There is no problem with Abraham having a kid with Hagar. That just happened. There was no miracle about it. But the promise was not Hagar. The promise was out of that old woman. The woman that could not have a kid except by miracle. Okay. And moreover, the Hagar is Sinai, the mountain, is in Arabia. Corresponds, that word here, now look at that word, seen, Sin stoike. Sin stoike. You know what that word means? That's a military term. Third person singular present indicative acting. It comes from si stoike. Si stoikeo. It means to keep in step. Like all the soldiers out on the field are in step. They make them walk in step. Okay? That means keep in step. Keeping in step. But the now Jerusalem she slaves with the children of her. Jerusalem on the earth now, Jerusalem on the earth is nothing but a sign, a sweatshop. When Moses came down off of Mount Sinai and Moses read those laws, he said, "Thou shalt not use the Lord thy God's name in vain. Thou shalt not use Jehovah Elohim's name in vain." What did they say? Amen. They said, "We'll do it." Well, they were in slavery to that edict, that commandment, that law. "It shall not covet thy neighbor's wife." When they said, "Amen," if they did, then they would be in trouble. "You shall not covet your neighbor's donkey. You shall not covet your neighbor's field." All of this. God made sure, because they never owned the land, ever. The land was family land. When you died, He wanted your children. It was not your land anyway. It was God's land. Period. That's just the way it was. Okay, Mount Sinai in Arabia. Now this is absolutely flabbergasting these Jews, because they think that they're the promised people. They're the promised seed of Abraham. Jesus said unto them, "Don't you say that we are Abraham's seed. That's why you're grafted in," because He said, "From these stones God could raise seed. From a rock, from a tree." By the way, the rocks and the trees and the dirt, it's all came from the same place, which is God. We're all the same owners. We're all kin. Keep it in step with Jerusalem. She's enslaved with the children of her. What's the word techno there? You remember what the word techno means? Techno. We got a word technical out of it. All right. Techno is a live birth. Every time when Hagar had a live birth, it was not an heir, it was just a live birth. It was a child, but the child did not have an inheritance. It did not have an inheritance. It wasn't the wheels. What? It wasn't the wheels. All it was a techno. All right. Now, verse number 26. Verse number 26. Anybody say that word? 26. Come on. There are three definite articles in Greek.
Okay.
All right. Ho, hey, and to. All right. Ho, hey, to. And this is one of them. It's nominee, singular, feminine. All right. Heyday. You ever have a heyday? We had a heyday a few years ago, didn't we? Everything was rolling and everything else. We're not in a heyday right now. Heyday ano. Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Eleuthera.
Eleuthera.
Estin.
Estin.
Hatis.
Hatis.
Estin.
Estin.
Mater.
Mater.
Hemon.
Hemon.
The Jews now are going to be the Hagarites. The Jews now are going to be the Hagarites. By the way, when was the last time I taught this class in this here? Brother David, is it down there on top of your page? When was that?
Back in 77.
131, 1977. How long ago was that?
1 or 2 years.
That's a few years ago. See? 77, 87,
Oh, yeah.
97, 2007. That's 30. 33 years ago.
Better
Okay?
stop right there.
33 years ago. All right. When I was teaching, 33 years ago, I was teaching this at the California Missionary Baptist Institute as a professor of Bible language. 33 years ago. All right. Hede ano Jerusalem elethera esten hestes esten mater himon. But the above Jerusalem, What about the Jerusalem above? You know what? Back in the Old Testament, God said that Abraham's feet would be like the sand of the sea. You couldn't number it. Sand of the sea is a very physical thing.
Is this speaking of the New Jerusalem?
We're going to get there. We're getting there, brother. Having trouble with my voice tonight. I'm going to have a cough drop here to keep going. We're going to get to New Jerusalem. Now, the New Jerusalem is going to be the abode of what? The New Jerusalem is going to be the abode of what? Church. Oh boy, you got it. Old Jerusalem is the abode of the slaves that are still in slavery to that law of Moses. They like being in that slavery. They like being enslaved. Even the Jews today, if they say that they're Messianic Jews, they still want to play with the law and be enslaved. Just like these Hagarites back here. Weak adversative conjunctive particle, page 85, by the way, that's Dave. Ano above, a little adverb, Jerusalem, which means the city of peace. But the above Jerusalem. The inhabitants of the above Jerusalem is going to be New Jerusalem, which is the inhabitants is going to be the church. Is going to inhabit that. But the church is free. The church is free, which is the mother of us. Matthew 28:18 through 20. The Lord speaking to his little ecclesia, it said, after you've been scattered out, after you've been kicked out, go out and make habitual learners, my faith-based disciples. After you make the learners, what do you do with them dudes? You try to drown them.
Baptize them.
You baptize them, typifying the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. They've already been saved, so they're dying with Christ, being raised in newness of life. Okay? And they go out and make more disciples. And the Lord said, I'll be with you until the end of the age, of the end, the coming together of the age, which is right there, where we are today. Right near it, I think. The mother, the mater. Look at that word mater. Our word mother comes right out of mater. Mater. Mother. The Jews are now the Hagarites, not the sons of Israel. They are slaves of the bondwoman. Jerusalem above typifies the stars of heaven. Abraham's descendants would be like the stars of heaven. Those are the spiritual descendants. Jerusalem below now, these are the people that have decided they want to be enslaved to the law, are the opposite as before. Jerusalem above is like the sand of the sea, the physical sea. The physical seed of Abraham will have no part with the spiritual descendants of Abraham unless they correspond, unless they get in step. Unless they get in step with the truth of God and God's Word today, they have no part with God. They get to stay here during the tribulation period. God ought to get them in line. Well, do you think the tribulation period is going to get them Jews in line?
So what this is saying here is those that are adhere to the law are bound to Hagar.
That's right. They're like the bondwoman.
Even though they are the seed of Abraham.
Now before they were the spiritual seed like the stars of heaven. Now they have fallen down to the dirt. Now there's a physical seed, and the church
This is as a result of their worship of Baal.
It's a result of their worship of the Bible.
Of the Bible.
Of the scrolls. They worship the scroll.
Of the law.
Of the law. They worship the law, not the God.
Of the lawmaker.
That's right. They worship the law and not the lawmaker.
So that's the allegory, because they're worshiping the law, not the lawmaker.
That's right.
They're bondservants of Hagar.
That's right. The Pharisees, God didn't make enough laws for those Pharisees, so they invented a few more. They invented some more, so we can keep all of that and a little bit more, because we're good. Now here's a little hard to read because this is capitalized, okay? This is capitalized. Gegrate. Gar. All right. Euphron they. All right. Stera. Hey. U. Tectusa. Grazon. Tai. Boason. Hey. Ook. U de nu se sa. U de nu sa. Pode. Pala. Ha. Techna. Taste. Eru. Ballon. Taste. Echoes. Accuses. Tone. Andra. All right, let's look at this. We're getting to some pretty good stuff here. We're going to blow you out of the saddle here in a minute. Just knock you down when you come to some of this. It has been written. Third person singular, perfect indicative passive. It has been written. That's completed. For it has been written, be glad, rejoice. This is all Isaiah 54 and verse 1, by the way. For it has been written, be glad, sterile. This is what we call sterilized. 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 Sterile. They used to, not too long ago, not too many years ago, every little young Indian girl that came into the Indian clinic, they sterilized her so she couldn't make any more. Sterilized.
What was that scriptural reference again?
Isaiah 54 and verse 1. And Isaiah 49 and verse 13. All right. Revelation 21:2 and John the 10th chapter. These are some cross-reference to this. Now, he uses the city of Jerusalem. The city of Jerusalem today, we are citizens of the heavenly Jerusalem. But he uses the citizens of physical Jerusalem today as the slaves, as the whole Jewish race that will not believe, that have chosen not to believe. Okay. I wrote a sermon last night called "The Devil Made a Devil to Do a Devil's Job."
Pretty good.
The devil made a devil to do a devil's job. The devil made a devil to do the devil's work. And a sermon I'm going to preach Sunday morning over there at Hagarites Baptist Church is called "Freedom is a Dangerous Thing." Freedom is a dangerous thing. Well, I'll tell you what, it's still dangerous for Israel today, freedom. It has been written, be glad, rejoice, barren, sterilized. The one not bearing, producing live births. Okay. Hektosa. Break forth and rend, burst asunder, that's what the raison means, and shout, bellow like an ox. Voice on, bellow like an ox. The one not travailing, feeling the pains of childbirth. Okay? Because many, the children, the born, live births of the desolate, rather than the one having the husband or man. Now, Brother Floyd, would you go back to verse number 24 and read forward up to verse number 27, please?
Now all this is an allegory. These two women represent two covenants. One covenant originated from Mount Sinai, where the law was given, and bears children destined for slavery. This is Hagar.
Get going.
Now Hagar stands for Mount Sinai in Arabia, and she corresponds to and belongs in the same category with the present Jerusalem, for she is in bondage together with her children. But the Jerusalem above, the Messianic kingdom of Christ, is free and she is our mother. For it is written in the Scriptures, Rejoice, O barren woman, who has not given birth to children. Break forth into a joyful shout, you who are not feeling birth pains, for the desolate woman has many more children than she who has a husband. But we, brethren, are children, not by physical descent as was Israel, but like Isaac, born in virtue of promise.
All right. Next one, 428 now. Now you read over there to 428, didn't you, brother?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go back and look at it a little bit. How does this first word come out of there now? 428. How do we say that? Amazed. Boy, that's good, David. What's the next word? All right. Adelphoi. Kata. Isik. Epangelios. Tekna. Esmon. All right, now. But we, brethren, what's brethren means? Where the word brothers come from, Adelphoi. What's it come from? All right. That's Bhakti plural masculine, by the way.
City of brotherly love.
No, well, brother, that's Philadelphia. It means the city of Philadelphia. City of brotherly love. What? From the same womb. Those that are born of God are birthed from God. They're birthed from God. Okay? But we, brethren, according to Isaac, a promise upon Gilead. Isaac. What does Isaac? Here's the word Isaac right here. See this word Isaac? Say Itzik. Itchik. 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 It's hard to say. Itchik. That means laughter. They laughed. And they were making fun that God said that old sterilized, stiff, barren woman was going to have a child. It means sterile, hard, stiff. Her womb was closed up and stiff.
Just as the world laughs at the salvation of Jesus Christ.
All right.
Is that
Yeah.
the allegory there that they laughed at Abraham and Sarah?
Uh-huh. Abraham laughed at God when he said Sarah was going to bring forth a child because she was sterilized by age.
But it's the same as the world laughing
At people and Christians today when they're born again and their life changes. You know, when you're born again, when you repent of your sins, your life changes.
So it could be said ridicule as well.
That's right. Now we're getting there, brother. That word gisic means to ridicule also. We're going to get over here to the next verse and you're going to see some things in this word. All right. From the same womb, according to Isaac, of promised children, tekna, that means live births. We're live births of God. We are, Esmon, and it could be este also, ye are, but it's we are, or ye are, okay? Now verse 29, Isaac. By the way, if you want to go back to Brown Driver's Briggs and look on page 850, you can read all about Yitzhak and Nitchik and Zitchik. All right? Now let's look at this one. This one here is a chart, if you're a linguist. What's that first word there? All. Hosper. Tot. Ho. Kata. Sarka. Genethes. Gidioke. Tol. Kata. Numa. Hotos. Kai. Ni. All right. All right. Now, there's a difference between the Hebrew Bible and the Septuagint. You know that. And here's where we see it also. But even as then, the one according to the flesh was having been born, persecuting, keep on running down, third person singular, imperfect, indicative, dioko, that means to chase down. All right. The one according to the Spirit. So also now. Now, Apostle Paul, he wrote this book of Galatians, didn't he? When the Apostle Paul was still a Judaizer, when he was still a Pharisee, when he was still a Hebrew of Hebrews, what was he doing to the Lord?
He was a master.
Persecuting.
He was a master of that.
Yeah, he was a master of persecution. He was a persecutor. He said, I am the least of all the apostles because I persecuted, I chased down, I dogged down, I hounded the church of God, the church belonging to God, according to the Spirit. Now let's go back to Galatians, or not Galatians, but Genesis 21 and verse 9. And let's look at this. Genesis 21 and verse 9. Genesis bought a sheep. Look at beginnings. Genesis 21 and verse 9. And then 26 and verse 8. We're going to look at this word. Gitzig. The word is mitchig. Gitzig. It comes the same word that Isaac comes from, as you see. And it's on page 850. Now, in the Septuagint, see this word right here? What can you say this? Anybody say this? Pizota. All right? Now, that word pizota means to mock as a child. You know, when a child gets down, the idea of the Septuagint was that Isaac was being mocked by Ishmael, and he was saying blah 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 blah, and acting like a little baby and mocking him. Okay, it means to mock like a child. See that word "pice" in there? All right, mocking like a child, and he did a lot of it too. That's participle. All right, he was mocking him a whole lot, according to the Septuagint. But now let's look at the Hebrew. Now let's look at the different translations. Genesis 21 and verse 9. Brother Floyd, are you over there?
Now Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking Isaac. Therefore she said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son Isaac.
All right, he's not going to be chair. Now, the word Hebrew there, literally, the root form of it is to laugh. Laughing at Isaac. But it also means other things. It means to ridicule. It means to persecute. It means to mock. And the word here means to mock. Pizota, that's the Greek word, means to mock. But this word here means more. This chick. All right? Let's look at it. Have you got another translation there? David, what do you have in that translation?
And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son. For the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac.
All right. Now, page 850 is where you find this in Brown, Rudder, and Briggs. The only place you can find this word now, since we don't have, it's not in the New Testament, you have to go to page 1288 in Liddell and Scott. Because that's profane and ecclesiastical Greek. Okay? All right, now let's go to Genesis, the 26th chapter and verse 8. Genesis 26 and verse 8. And Brother Floyd, are you over there in 26 and verse 8? Now I want you to look at that too, David. Same word. Brother, hold on, Floyd. David, you read first.
Okay, just verse 8.
Yes, 8.
And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife.
I wish we had the Living Bible here tonight. I don't have one. I should have brought it. I was going to. Brother Floyd.
When he had been there a long time, and Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of a window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech, hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Abimelech.
And Abimelech called Isaac and said, "See here, she is certainly your wife. How did you dare say to me, she is my sister?" And Isaac said to him, "Because I thought, lest I die on account of her."
All right, now let's go back. Now, what is going on here? What do we have there, David?
That's a little lie going on.
Oh, that's a little lie going on, but what's the deal here? What's going on? How was it exposed?
What was the part? What did you say?
How was it exposed? What was Isaac doing with his wife?
He was caressing her. He was kissing on her. Kissing on her. Yeah, okay.
He was in sexual union with her. That's what he was. He was making love to his wife. The word, Hebrew is a kind of a limited language. One word means a lot of things. It can mean laugh. It can mean, it means enjoyment. It means laughing. It also means mocking at some time. But it can also mean that Ishmael was sexually abusing Isaac. What does it mean? Go back over there now, read that, 26 and verse 8. Read that and say what he did, what it says right there.
And it came to pass, when he has been there a long time, that Abimelech the king of the Philistines looked out at a window and saw, behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife.
What? He was sexually caressing her. This word, ichik here, it means to laugh. When a man and a woman are in sexual union, they are in great pleasure. Both of them their souls are laughing together, as the Bible says in the Old Testament. They would become one. Could Ishmael have sexually abused Isaac? Says you can look at that also. This word means all of that. His mother got real mad, didn't she? What did she say? Now, if he was just playing with him, whatever. If she was just playing with him, if he was just playing, it also means to play with. That word, paizona, it can mean to play like children together, but that wasn't what was going on. That wouldn't have made her mad, would it? If he was just playing like a child, it had to be more of a mocking. It had to be something serious. What did she say, David? What was?
Cast out this bondwoman and her son. The son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even the Philistines. Get rid of him.
That's right. Now,
She wouldn't have done that if he was just doing a na-na-na-na-na thing.
yeah, I don't think so. You go back and read it on page 850 in Brown Driver's Greek and see what you come up with. See what the possibilities are. That's a horrible sin, It could have been. Sexually abusing him. It could have meant that. This child. By his older brother.
So it's not conclusive.
No, it's not conclusive, but it can mean that. Because we find out over there in Genesis 26 and verse 8, what Isaac was doing to his wife was they were in sexual union.
And that was the same Hebrew word.
The same Hebrew word, right here. Just look it up. Look it up for yourself. See what you come to. Could that be what was going on? It says here that the Edoke, if he was sexually abusing him, would he have been persecuting him? Would he have been persecuting him?
Yeah.
If he was mocking him? That way? Sure. Galatians 5 and 11, 4:23, 3:29, Romans 9 and verse 7. And of course, Genesis 21 and Genesis 26 and verse 21 and verse 9 and 26 and verse 8 all come back to this word. Right there. Whatever he did, it was so serious that Sarah said, get him out of here now. He will not have him here. And then, of course, Abraham, what did Abraham say? No, that's my son. He wanted to be the heir. And then what did Jehovah say to Abraham? You listened to your wife Sarah before, now listen to her again, get him out of here. And of course she went out there, Hagar went out there and she decided to die with her son, and then God opened up a well for them. And he provided for him because he was a seed of Abraham. He was going to bless him in spite.
This is the rejection of the firstborn.
And now this is what we have got here in the Middle East today. These are those Saudi Arabians. These are those Lebanese, the Syrians. All these. This is what the Egyptians, Iran, the most dangerous group of people over there in the Middle East is what? Saudi Arabia. There is no tolerance there at all. Where did all the 9/11 attackers come from? Saudi Arabia. You can't even walk into the holy cities over there. You'll be killed. Where else city in the world is it like that? Any other place like that? Oh, now I'm talking about persecution. All right. Look up those two words on Liddell and Scott 1288. That's mizonta, or mizonta. And then the word max, tech, that's it. Look that one up on page 850, and just look at all the different things as you go through there. 4 and 30. 4 and 4:30. Do you have any questions about this last one? That was quite an eye-opener, wasn't it?
No, I don't have any questions yet, because my mind's still going.
Let's spin your mind just a little bit. Make your mind spin. All right, now 4 and verse 30. We're clipping along through this book here. Anybody say that first word there? Allah. I bet Floyd can read the next one. T. Looks just like it does in English, doesn't it?
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, T. And then the next word? Lagay, Hey, Graphe, Ekbale, Tain, Paidiskane, Kai, Ton, Huiol, Altes, Hu, Gar, May, Klero no Mese, Hobios, Taste, Paidiske, Meta, Tuhuyu, Taste, Electros. All right.
Hold on.
Huh?
I've got to go back.
Yes, David.
I'm sorry. This is the eternal struggle in this verse right here. Not the eternal struggle, but the limited struggle between Satan and God going on. It's Satan.
It's always. There's a constant warfare. The battle of the ages.
The supposed sexual act that went on here.
Well, what if it was?
If it was, that's why I used the
Yeah.
supposed. But it's Satan trying to usurp God's authority and cause
Over the promised seed.
over the promised seed by a homosexual act, trying to bring about this total destruction.
Well, even in the animal kingdom, like cats, for instance, you get a male cat out there and he's going to mount the other male cat. It's like an animal. He was acting like an animal. All right.
But it was more. If that's his
But it's more than that. It's
more than that.
satanic.
Yeah.
It's satanic. Now, just think about this. If indeed that's what it was, almost every one of the male homosexuals will say the reason why they're male homosexuals is because somebody sexually abused them, some male.
It's destruction, total destruction.
Try it. Now, if this truly indeed happened like it possibly could from these words, can you see how the old devil might have wanted to get in the door? To stop the bloodline?
I told you my mind was racing.
Yeah, that's right. It really makes you think. Okay, now let's get back over here. But, strong adversity conjunctive, page 15. But what says the Scripture, the writing, graphe? We get a word graph from that in English. Cast out the maidservant, and the son of her, and her heir. He was her heir because he was going to take care of her when she was in her old age. But it's not Abraham's heir, is it? Wasn't Abraham's heir, even though he was a rejection of the firstborn, like you said, like you've heard me teach that so many times. And it is. Not Garme. I mean not. I'm translating it instead of reading it. Ugarme. Adverb of negation, not for not. Not, not. No, not. He shall inherit. Claro, no may say. He shall inherit. Third person singular future indicative active from claro no mia or claro no may say. That means according to a lot, according to law. He will not inherit legally. The son of the maidservant with the son of the free woman. By the way, where was this boy, this Ishmael, where was he going to, what land was he going to live in? What land was he going to live in? The land of Palestine. That's right. But, you know, according to this, according to the book of Genesis, the Canaanites would never have legal right to that land. They would never have a legal right to that land. Never. They would not. Who has the legal right to the land, according to the Bible? Israel. Isaac. Not Ishmael. And of course, Ishmael's descendants married with who? Esau's descendants. It was Esau. Look how God worked. Who was on the throne of Israel when Jesus was born? Herod, which was Esau's descendant, and of course mixed with Ishmael. Do you think the devil was working? And Israel accepted that because he built them a palace. Because he built them a palace.
This is Satan trying to inherit.
There it is.
Doesn't belong to.
That's right. Satan trying to get into what?
Were they separate from the Samaritans?
Oh, the Samaritans,
There's
when
a
they were
different
carried
view.
off, the Samaritans were half Jews and half Syrians, basically.
Syrians,
Okay. Half Jews and half Syrians. All right. Now the 31st verse, and we're going to quit. 4:31. We're going to finish chapter 4 tonight. Anybody read that? Dio,
Adelphoi.
Adelphoi, Ug, Esmond, Hydeskes, now,
Hala. Case.
Eletheros. Okay, now let's look at that. Wherefore, therefore, brethren, not we are of the maidservant born live verse. Strong adversative conjunction, page 15, of the free woman. All right? The church is our mother today. The church is our mother today. We are saved by the administration of God's church, and she is the free woman. The slave is over there in Jerusalem. As much as those Jews want to be the children of God, they are the slaves. They are slaves to the Bible. And they will never inherit that land. They will never inherit that land until they come to the Messiah. Right over here. They are not part of the program of God today, not in the administrators of God's kingdom. Well, they will be when God turns back to them during the tribulation period. And that will get them ready, put them in line for the 1,000-year kingdom of the Lord. Well, there we are. God's eternal purpose, all drawn out beforehand. In the Old Testament and in the New. You've got to go back to the book of Genesis before you can understand the rest of the Bible. You've got to read the book of Genesis before you can understand Galatians. Before you can understand Hebrews, Revelation, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. You've got to read it. Genesis is the foundation of the whole Bible. It's the book of beginnings. Marshall. Do you have any questions before I turn you loose on the world and go out and do something eternal? Brother Floyd, thank you for being here tonight. See, I can preach in Greek, can I? I can preach in Greek better than I can on Sunday morning.
This is a good Bible.
Yes, it is.
Amplified.
That's Amplified Bible.
What's the date?
This is the second. 6/2, 2010. I wrote down the other day 6/1/2006. I don't know why I said that. Maybe my brain was in 2006 at that time.
Flashback.
Flashback.
That was good.
The Word of God is exciting, dynamic, and it never grows old.
There is no way.
It'll wear us out.
There's no way that this book can be contrived. It just
There's so much there that you just can't.
it intermingles and dovetails.
Well, we'll start out with 5 and 1 next week. We're clipping along in this book. Well, let's go out and do something good for the Lord this week. Brother Floyd, would you like to dismiss us in prayer tonight? Would that be all right with you? All right.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege that we have to come and study your word.